Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Bright Investors office hours. Great to see folks coming in. Ooh, we got a lot of folks coming in today. A lot of folks. Popular tonight. There we go. It's been my lucky day. All right. Perfect. Well, everyone, thanks for coming to the Bright Investor office hours. As always, it's a good time for us to talk about market research, deal analysis, using Bright Investor better, and other upgrades and features that are coming out. So, as usual, I'll go ahead and start with some announcements on what we've got going on here at the old Bright Investor. Some product announcements first. You guys probably remembered that we released our new version last week with the rent reports and everything else. Right now, what's currently being developed is the Bright Investors connections to CRMs and the mobile-friendly reports. They're currently coming out right now. We have our other couple components that are still going out, a couple bug fixes that are being launched as well. The other additional features that are being released are the widget and some of the calculator improvements as well. So those things are still rocking and rolling here. We should expect another push, probably a small push this week, another couple releases in the next couple of weeks as well. So let's get ready for that. And of course, we'll have our emails about it. We're still tracking about another 37 upgrades that we're currently tracking on that we should have done in the next couple releases here. So a lot of fun stuff coming out. Let's see here. Any other questions? We have on a company side, it's for folks who are interested. We have been approached by several large either real estate mentorship groups or agencies or property management companies to start partnering on a wider scale. I know some of those individuals are here tonight. We're part of those organizations. But we're having larger meetings regarding rolling Bright Investor out nationwide through some cool organizations, which is always a nice little fun win for us. But we're developing some pretty cool things that are going on there. And then I do want to give a quick shout out to my boy Jason, who is one of our BI Diamond members who just closed his fourplex and finally got through that nightmarish hellscape that we worked through to get that thing on the line. And I'll also give a shout out to Polina, who will be a member, who is selling her project right now and got a full asking offer today. So she's doing well. And we're gonna get that thing moved. We're gonna get that project moved and on to the next one. And we went over pricing strategy recently. We were able to put together something to make it work. So Pauline, you want to unmute yourself and talk a little bit about how you're feeling?
Um, well, I just signed the contract. I just sent it like a couple minutes before too. So I'm officially under
Yeah.
contract. We'll see.
So, Helena, did they accept the as is counter?
Eh, at the end, they just took whatever offer I sent them last night.
Okay.
And
Was
then
it 3.5%?
the what?
Was it 3.5% or no?
No, just 3K.
Okay, that's
Uh-huh.
great.
And then the
Congratulations.
other person, there was another offer coming, and she was gonna switch to a conventional loan, but I just went with them. I think they're already set, so uh-huh.
Congrats. That's
So
fantastic.
we'll
I
see.
loved it. That's
Uh-huh.
great. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I love
And so thank you very much for your help. So I've been texting him back and forth every single thing. So thank you, Donato. And I've been texting you
absolutely.
at all hours.
You're totally fine. Happy to help. It's all about getting successful. And we're gonna keep taking it a day at a time. Same with you and same with Jason. And now that Jason's closed, we gotta start working on the renovations and getting the project taken care of. And so we got a lot of stuff on the plate to go, but it's just really great to see people taking down projects and moving things forward here on step by step. So Jason, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and share a little bit too.
Thank you very much for your help. As you know, it was a little difficult, bumpy road, but we stuck with it. I thought a couple times about just say, let's forget it and go with another one. But
Mhm.
it works out well. So thank you very much for all your help.
Absolutely. And that's been all the work done you, man, to getting it all together. So now, Jason and I, we're going to be working on the contractors and lining up everyone and getting them organized. And actually, Jason, I think we'll be talking about that here this week in our next discussion. But it's just a good day. I'm watching people close things and go under contract and getting things done, which makes me happy and puts a little bit of hope in my old soul, as they say. So with that, because I'm still getting over this cold here, I want to go ahead and open the floor up for questions, comments, concerns, or anything that people want to talk about when it comes to BrightInvestor. And as a reminder, I am going to have a little section in the back of the call tonight. If you have not already gotten to know some of the people in this call, who you think could be useful to speak to or partner with or just have conversations with, I highly encourage people to drop their phone numbers, their names, their phone numbers, and a little bit about who they are in the chat to basically promote people having conversations. I know for a fact that people who've come to this office hours have partnered and started working with each other on flips in different parts of the US. So I know that business is being done through folks who are connecting through these office hours. So highly encourage people to get connected. But without further ado, with those announcements and little shout outs here and there, if there are any questions, happy to go ahead and start taking those out.
Hey, Donato, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I have this opportunity to buy like 19 properties from a tired landlord. But most of the properties are kind of below that threshold that I could do a blanket loan.
Okay.
Do you have any other recommendations on funding for that besides
Your
the
portfolio
amount?
loan. Yeah. There's someone there are actually some lenders that come to these calls that I'm going to put you in contact with. I think his note takers here. Yeah, Joseph's note takers here, Joseph Spellman. I would highly recommend. We'll get in touch with him. He's a pretty good lender that has a lot of different loan options we should talk through. Let me ask you this: what condition are the properties in?
Um, they're in decent shape. They're all tenant occupied right now.
Mm,
So, they're all making money. So
mm,
it's just a matter of she's done. She doesn't have
okay,
really the energy, and she's at an age where she needs to be
okay.
out of
Let me
it.
ask this. First question: do you want all 19?
I would love to cherry pick, um,
Okay,
but I think she's wanting to get out of all of them. So
okay.
that's kind of the dilemma.
Okay. So first and foremost, I know there's some property managers in here who are like, I'll manage it. They're like, please, please, please. Um, like 19 door portfolios are great. So here's first and foremost what we need to do. We need to analyze every property on a per property basis and understand which ones have the most potential to be good long-term rentals and which ones we need to take down and then flip off or wholesale off.
Mhm.
But we need to do that on a whole property basis. We cannot go into this with the expectation that every property is great. So first and foremost, use BI, run the numbers, LTR, and generate a bright report for every single one. At the end of this, we should know which ones you actually want to keep, which ones are in high appreciation areas with good population and rent growth, which ones aren't. Those ones, we then need to start doing we are not going to do a blanket price for the entire portfolio. We need to price these individually. What does each one individually make sense at? Then add that up and do that portfolio. And then whatever ones we're planning to flip off or wholesale, we need to bake that into our margin and how we're acquiring this. Because again, your value to her is not that you're taking over at the price she wants. It's the fact that you're willing to take over the work that she doesn't want to do anymore and do it fast and quickly in one fell swoop. And for your effort, you should be able to get a price that makes sense for you. So first and foremost, we need to do that. Afterwards, we can start looking at the kind of financing options that make the most sense. and see, because if we look at this and say there's no way you're going to take more than 10 of these because where these things are at or condition or location, that's going to change what we're doing financing wise. And if we're looking at these, we're going to flip some off, we're going to wholesale some, we need to go ahead and factor that into how we plan to finance this too, especially if we're going to be doing long-term debt or short-term debt. So let's start there. Let's have a conversation. I can connect you to some other lenders in the BI community who are possibly going to be able to help answer some of those questions about what we have going on for lending. Now, where are these properties? Actually, what are the addresses, Dolores? Would you mind? Oh, where are these properties?
It's in Kansas.
Interesting. Okay. Weren't you doing a flip in Kansas?
I have a long-term rental. I have
You
a
have
buy
an
and
LTR. I knew you had a property there in Kansas. Okay. Is it the same market?
a little bit different area. It's in Parsons.
Okay. Okay.
My list up here.
That's fine. I think the recommendation stands of what we need to do to take on. Absolutely. If we're going to take this on, at 19 doors, you need to take on a PM, a good PM, to handle those things. Absolutely. Someone to handle some of these lease renewals, especially if they're all in rentable condition, decent condition. We're also going to need to figure out what the CapEx requirements are on a per property basis. So I don't want you taking a property of 19 doors that all need 19 roofs and 19 foundations and 19 sets of windows. Don't do that.
Right.
Please don't do that. So we absolutely need to go ahead on a deal by deal basis and start understanding what are the CapEx for each of these. Now, above all else, this transaction, let this woman know that you're there for her, that you're here to support her. You want to make this as easy as possible, and you're going to prioritize helping her above everything else. And you establish that relationship, because ultimately I'm going to have a lot of questions for her, and that can be emotionally taxing. So reaffirm the fact that you're here to help her get out of this portfolio and retire to the good life, as long as we can get a couple of these questions answered, and go patiently with her. And let's make sure that you get a good deal that's also not a ticking time bomb. And let's get a good PM in place to prepare to take over day-to-day management. And we'll go forward from there. But underwrite deals per property, price each property individually. We want to find out what the CapEx requirements are per property. If she has interior photos, that'd be great. I'm betting she doesn't. I'm betting she doesn't have any photos that are recent. Am I right?
No, she has some photos. I'm gonna schedule a time to see if I can do some virtual tours. But I know that's kind of taxing on her, so I might need to lean on an investor-friendly realtor there to kind of do some of that walkthrough.
I would say, I know I have a PM in here who could probably speak to this a little bit, but if you were to, this is going to be an off-market transaction. Maybe you're going to use a buyer's rep, maybe you're not. But a PM in the area, and you say, hey, I have 19 doors. If you're willing to go tour these properties for me in person, I'd be happy to turn these over to you for a pre-negotiated rate.
Great.
That's a deal they'd probably be willing to do. See Sam right there in St. Pete. She just said 100%, right? That's my PM contact. I picked up a pink pen and now my hands are pink. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just like looking over. I'm like super distracted right now. Okay. So a PM in the area would absolutely say, you're going to give me 19 doors and you're willing to do it for 8%. I'll walk to every property you need. Not a problem. You just gave them approximately, say one door averages but 2K a year revenue for a lot of PM companies. You just gave them approximately what, $40,000 a year top line revenue for that PM company. You're the new best friend. Absolutely.
Got it.
And they won't charge you $1 for the walking through it, as long as they know that you're going to give them the business on the back end.
Okay. I will do that. Thank you.
And then you can cut me in and we'll joint venture the whole thing. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions that I can help support with tonight on at all? Happy to answer. Happy to support. As a reminder, Saturday office hours will not be here. I'm out of town. I'm visiting family. Sort of a quick short announcement. We are probably going to be transitioning to only doing Wednesday office hours instead of Saturday. and just doing it once a week. Just because attendance on the weekends can get really fuzzy here and there on when people are free. We're still going to have the recording. We're still going to send it out. With the amount of meetings that I'm doing, I just need a little bit of a break on that Saturday. This week there's only about 41 meetings. Last week was 62, so we're having a break already. But I need a little bit of that time on Saturdays. So we'll probably be transitioning to a Wednesday only office hours, with the traditional, one-on-one chat support as necessary, unless there's very significant blowback on Donato. If you take away Saturdays, I'm going to saw my leg or something. So we'll probably be announcing that relatively soon. Let's go ahead and see here. So unless there are any other questions tonight, I'll go ahead and hop back there. Santiago, would you mind going over some of the new features? Absolutely. It forced me to talk about my favorite subject. I can do that. Absolutely, Santiago, not a problem. I'm going to share my screen. Let's go here. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull up some of this stuff. Okay. So for those who were not aware, some of the biggest things that we released recently are the new rent reports, as well as I think this is coming out right now, but the ability to zoom in on the map and see property pins when you're prospecting. So I'm just going to drop my pin on Columbus, Ohio. When we are looking up a property, and I'm just going to look up this one, like 610, just do a property search here. And I'm looking up these properties, like this one. One of the newest things that we added inside of BI is, of course, you saw the skip tracing the linked properties with all of our things loading here. But now when I come to my rent comps, and of all these rent comps here, we created the brand new rent comp report. So now it looks a lot like the Bright report, but the rent comp report is now fully brandable and white labelable. But now the rent report is an interactive rent analysis that will give you all the rental information, comp map ready to rock, all the comps broken out that again are interactive and of course do still link to Zillow so you can see photos, while also giving you the rent growth for that type of property in that area. This is a new type of report that you can generate and use inside of BrightInvestor. Sam, I don't know if you knew this or not, but yeah, this is live now for you as a PM. Then when you're in the rent comps, you can now filter rent comps by distance. We now have the way to turn off the powered by branding inside of BrightInvestor. So if you don't want your reports to say powered by BrightInvestor, you can now turn that off. Some of the things that are coming out is the ability to zoom in property pins. Then we have releasing the search history. So every property address you search, next time you go to type in an address, it'll remember the last things that you looked up and then give you a prompt to you to say, oh, did you want to look up these ones? The reports are being edited to become more mobile friendly as well. The other major upgrade that's coming out soon is the BrightInvestor's CRM integration. So I will very quickly demonstrate what that's going to look like. Essentially, when you're BrightInvestor moving forward, there's going to be a little button down here that says add to CRM. And when you create a list of properties, there's going to be a button that says add to CRM. And you'll be able to click this and instantly send any property list that you're working on to your CRM to do any marketing efforts or prospecting efforts. So it'll look like, and then you'll be able to also skip trace those leads before they go over to your CRM. So that's actively being developed as we speak, as another feature that's being released as well. Then we are releasing what is that? The other major things. We've got a bunch of small bug fixes and bug tweaks, just tiny little user interface improvements and things of that nature. But one of the other things that we are releasing are smart errors and smart property identification. So what that means is that if you guys are looking for a property, and let's say, like, for example, people don't know this, but if I look at like Phoenix, Arizona, I think this is right, or maybe it's Tucson. I think it's Tucson. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I look for properties and I do a search for deals. A lot of information, a lot of property data in Tucson won't, it's like 10,000 properties, there's a lot of deals. A lot of properties won't give bad information. They'll just have bath. So if I set like a bedroom minimum and a bathroom minimum and do a search, I'm going to get barely any result because for some whatever reason, they don't like to report bedroom information in Tucson. So instead of simply saying, let's say like I put a really specific search on this and I say it has to be individually owned and between 200,000 and 400,000 absentee owner, I do that search. Okay, I still have properties. Let's say it also has to be owned for 30 years, right? It's going to say no records. Moving forward, instead of simply giving you a dead end, which is there are no records, BrightInvestor will suggest to you and research criteria based on what is available. It'll say, hey, there's properties like that aren't available here, but what is available is X, and we've shown you the result for that instead. So that way, you're never in a position where BrightInvestor doesn't give you an answer, and it is smart enough to know what you're trying to do and giving you that instead. It's not really an exciting feature, but it is something that we find is going to be valuable for folks. In addition to that, you need to add and delete sales comps and rent comps specifically. So right now, you can hide them and toggle them on and off. We're adding the ability for you to be able to manually add or manually delete ones that you don't want to show up or you do want to show up. That is some of the main things that are going live. And then I can show you a little bit of what the mobile-friendly reports are going to look like. So you guys know what the reports currently look like. Moving forward, when you guys create a Bright report or a rent report and someone pulls it up on their phone, it's going to look like this on their phone. So the top of the screen will have BrightInvestor or your brand. It'll have this section. It'll then have all the listed price information. It'll have all the quick insights, and you can scroll up or down on this using your thumb. It'll have all your sales comps here, ready to rock, all on the map. It'll have your rent comps here, ready to rock. And then again, all here on your map. Deal analyzer, we're still figuring out, of course. And then the market research section will be scrollable as well. So this will be a fully mobile-friendly, scrollable section to be a lot more easy to look at when you're on the go. So those are the major things that we've worked on or are working on and are releasing inside BI based on a lot of people's feedback and what people have been wanting. So a lot of fun stuff that's being released slowly and surely. We're really focused on what's frustrating for me. I don't get to push a new version every week like we used to because now we have a lot of people who are relying on this in their day-to-day business. And so we have to test things and make things work the first time and not move fast and break things anymore. But all this is the tune of we want to add more and more features and functionality while also making sure it's consistently reliable for everyone here and continuing to do little tweaks and bug fixes as we find them. But those are some of the new things that are coming out and that we're working on. Absolutely, Santiago. Happy to help. Also, in your list and report section, when you guys are creating things, of course, your property lists are here ready for you, ready to rock. But now down below, when you're in the report section, there is a section for the property reports generate and a section for the rent reports you generate. So you can just filter between the two of them to pick up any report you ever made. So that's new as well, being able to filter for those. That is, I think, the majority of the new stuff. Again, we got a lot of things that we're just kind of triggering around that we're just playing around with and working on and trying to balance what everybody's wanting. The biggest new things that are coming out the fastest are the CRM integration, the mobile friendly reports, and the widget to allow people to pull rent reports from a website. So those are all things that are the highest priority right now. Right. Santiago, have you considered breaking down zip codes in more granular chunks? I know coffee closers are selling with that, but it was also too expensive to say that amount that cost. I've considered it. I'm open to it. It's not something I'm going to do in the short term, but it is something we're going towards. Right? Eventually, we want more and more granular information. I'd like everything to be available at a census or block tract. The difficult part of that kind of information is primarily that census level data, and that is not updated as often as I want. Oftentimes, the only time we get better census tract data is on the decennial census every 10 years. I like stuff that's updating every week, every month, every quarter, every 6 months, or at the slowest every year. So doing things on a more granular level on like tractor block is going to require being cool with having relatively outdated stuff, unless that we figure out a way to get it more frequently and updating it a bit more recently. But it is something I want to do. But again, kind of my code of ethics on putting information out there is I want the most updated stuff that I can get. So we're working on it, and we'll see what we can do. And of course, if anyone has data sources they know of for things like that, you can always email me and say, Donato, I'd love to see this on there. That is why we are adding Section 8 rents. For those who don't remember, we are adding HUD Section 8 rents into BrightInvestor, allowing you to filter for what the HUD is currently paying in any area around the US for different types of bedrooms. So we've had a lot of requests for that. So if you would be able to say what's market rent, what's Section 8 rent, and then compare the two of them, you'll be able to do so. That's coming in from a user who, users who reached out about that kind of functionality. So that is coming out as well.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So it has to do with in Dayton. There's a long zip code, and what area in this of the zip code is really nice, and the other
Okay.
area not so good.
Okay.
So when you look at the data, you're like, oh, this looks okay. You look at the Google Streets, and it's okay. So is there a way to determine, more specific?
Yeah. What's the zip code?
So it is 45402.
5402. Let's see what we got here. Oh, it is a long zip code. It's like that's a crazy looking zip code here.
Yes, so in the center, where's the letter Dayton, it's
Mhm.
nice or much nicer, and then you go exactly towards the edge,
This,
and it's not so
okay.
great.
Okay, let's take a look see here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a really quick satellite check just to get an idea if I can see anything changing in the area. Okay, so I'm looking around here. I don't really see much difference. Okay, visually speaking. Okay, but I am going to drop my little guy over here and just walk around for a second, see what's going on. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. That's not great. Yeah, I see that. City's not taking care of the concrete, old sidewalks, old houses. Yeah, okay. Okay. Best thing we can do here is use community pulse data. So what we're going to start off with is our franchises and do about we'll do a 5 mile radius. And we're going to say, where are the Starbucks? That tells you all I need to know right there. Where are your Targets? Where are your Walmarts? Where are your Dollar Generals? Where are your Taco Bells? Where are your Chick-fil-A's? Okay. The nicer areas in the vicinity are going to have a higher frequency of higher income facing franchises. What we'll note is that my Targets, my Starbucks, and my Dollar Generals, my Chick-fil-A's, my Walmarts are all in this area, right? All in this section of the zip code that Polina noted was nicer. None of these franchises have a location on the west side of the river. That's a telltale sign to you. What is there is your Dollar Generals. What we're looking for is to overlay this with pertinent information. So I'm going to add that as a layer and click this red clear map button. And I'm going to do the same thing with my businesses. I'm going to go and pop on a 3 mile radius here and say, where are my restaurants? Interesting. Where are my cafes and coffee shops. Interesting. Where are my grocery stores? Interesting. When we start looking at where restaurants and coffee shops and where commerce is happening, it's all happening on the east side of the river in Dayton towards this nicer part of town. The only thing on this side is McDonald's and a more for less. Okay. We can do the same thing by looking at where's our public transport? Okay, where are my pharmacies? Where are my, I don't know, my parks? Very clearly looking at the businesses, the epicenter of economic activity where businesses are congregating are in this section of Dayton, Ohio. And there's a desert relatively in this section. That tells you pretty much everything you need to know about where people are living, where they're spending money, and where the economic development is going. The closer we are to this section, you'll also notice that's where the University of Dayton's campus is. So right there, this is what we're going to use to get an idea intra-zip code of where we're interested in focusing. So clearly, right, just based off of this, I would want to be around this part of Dayton to maybe this part of Dayton. I want to stick around this central's location because that's where all the things are at that I want to be near. So that's how I would get more specific. Does that help?
Yes, but also the crime is higher in downtown, so it throws you
let's
off
take a
a
look at
little
that.
bit.
So generally speaking, crime is always higher in very urban areas. The greater population density, the greater crime is going to be. That's just an absolute given. What we want to find is what type of crime is it, right? And what is our distribution? So as we look at this, right, clearly we have crime overall, right? When I'm looking at this and this levels of crime, I'm looking to see pockets, right? I see a pocket of violent assaults that all happened right here. And this is all this month, so not super into that. Don't love it, right? But the same time, on this side of the river, I still have pockets of violent assault. I still have pockets of violent assault. I still have pockets of violent assault. When I look at this, there is a relatively uniform distribution of violent assaults across the city, with a notable decrease around the university and around this section of eastern Dayton, Ohio, and over here to the north. At the same time, knowing that the crime is relatively well uniform throughout this entire area, all I want to do then is pop on my little restaurant layer that I've got so nice and say, great, I just want to buy a property then that's not next to the Twin Towers section in Xenia Avenue and be more interested in buying potentially in historic, what's that called? Historic Inner East section of Dayton to downtown Dayton, around University of South Student neighborhood and avoid this section between Walnut Hills and north to the highway. So based off the crime that I'm seeing here and the fact that it's relatively uniform throughout this entire area, right? I'm not as concerned about the frequency of crime. I'm looking more about the distribution and figuring out which pockets have the closest proximity to those businesses and franchises I want to be around. That's not necessarily in these hot pockets of weapon law violations. So I would be looking right about here. I use my sticky note function. Right about there. Here. Here. And here. And here. As my spots in this zip code.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'd go after, and that's what I'd start looking at. So to check that, right, I just clear my map, and I'm gonna say, take my little boy here, and drop him off. Start looking around. Yeah, I'm on a major street there. Let me find a little bit less of a major street. Let's go over here. Walk around. I'm in an alleyway. Get out of the alleyway. Okay. All right, perfect. What do we got? Got nice homes, good exteriors, good tree cover. Oh, that's a beautiful duplex. Look at that paint job. That is just gorgeous. Nice, good looking duplex there. Another duplex, single family house. I can't tell. Single family houses, lots of cars, good tree cover, very creative paint jobs here. Wouldn't have made that choice, but you know what? That's you. So that's what I'm going to do here. That's how I'm going to getting more specific on my streets. So I got a cobblestone street here. One thing I'm noticing is that everybody is parking on the street. So what does that mean for us? Properties that have some type of off-street parking or garage parking are going to be rented at a premium. Like right here, I've got myself off-street and garage parking. So anytime I can get a property that has a garage, I'm going to be able to charge more rent for it because a lot of people are parking on street, and I can see it's not very common to have that garage. So that's automatically something I'm going to be looking for when it comes to properties and what I can buy. Is that it has a garage, I'm more interested. But overall, these properties look great. Paint jobs look great. A lot of opportunity here. So that's my 411. Santiago, is there a feature that would tell us the crime stats are above, below average for the zip state or country? We actually had that at one point. We actually had crime stats like that, kind of like above or below average. It didn't really get used. Not that it can't ever get used, but we just felt like people didn't actually like using it. They almost always just wanted to see the crime stats on the address level. So we might bring it back at some point in time. But for the time being, it's not something we're going to be pulling back out. It's always possible though. All right. Any other questions I can help with? Happy to support. Let's see if my give a little update. The property I'm buying is set to close in about 2 weeks, which is exciting.
Did you found it on the MLS or did you look for something off?
This one was on market on the
Okay.
MLS,
Mhm.
but it had been there for a long time. Sellers were a bit stressed, and I was able to negotiate a discount. Actually, I negotiated another like $5,000 in concessions today, which was nice. And getting it for it has that rental unit on it. So buying it with a rental unit that's already pre-leased is big thumbs up.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, Eric, how you doing?
Doing good, but I'm having a little difficulty logging in to your system. Actually, I logged in, and every time I tried to generate a report, I got a 404 error.
Okay, that doesn't sound right. Can you share your screen?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Can you share your screen on Zoom, or I could probably walk through if you wanted after our Zoom call tonight. I can just email you, and we can have a little one-on-one, and I can just walk through with you and see about what your issue might be. I bet it's just
Uh,
I'm almost guaranteeing it's a clear cache issue with the new version. Um, I can probably fix it in about 30 seconds, but I just need to walk through with you on your computer.
well, you see my last name there on my screen, Heidemann?
Yep.
Okay, my email is heidemann@gmail.com. So
Okay.
if that would help you any.
Yeah, perfect. I'll shoot you over an email and we'll get you taken care of here as soon as we wrap up today. And I'm pretty sure it's 30-second fix. We'll get taken care of.
Oh, okie dokie. Let me lower my hand. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. That's great, guys. Anytime you have questions like that, if you're like, hey, this is being weird or something, just email me, let me know, message me, talk to me. We'll get it figured out for you. Normally, it's something super, super simple. This is like a refresh or clear your cache, and it'll address the issue. But anything you have, always be sure to let me know. I think at one point I did a midnight or 1 a.m. support call because I was traveling internationally. And I had someone say, Donato, can you talk? And I was at like a airport at like midnight. So if I'm available for those kind of things, I will be there to help. And make sure you guys are getting as much value as possible out of the BrightInvestor system. All right. Any other questions for tonight? I'm seeing no. I'm gonna go once, and I'm gonna go twice. And I think we're gonna sell to wrap it up. Okay, perfect. Well, guys, thanks for being here tonight. I think a couple of people put their contact information in the chat for being able to connect with people. So if you haven't already taken that down, make sure you do. And we'll make sure folks get connected with other investors and partners and potential lenders or PMs across the nation. As always, make sure you guys let me know of any questions or any support you guys need for BI. We'll do our emails out here soon with the new version. And I will be emailing Eric here in just a second and getting him taken care of. So thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate it, and have a great night.